Welcome to another episode of Life Science Solutions Podcast, where we explore the operational, regulatory, and technical challenges shaping the future of the life science industry. I'm your host, Chris Adkins. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches nearly every function inside of a regulated manufacturing facility, and that's computer system validation. For years, computer system validation, or CSV, has been a foundational requirement for ensuring that the electronic and digital systems that are used in regulated manufacturing environments perform as intended and maintain data integrity. However, the regulatory landscape is evolving, and many organizations are now navigating the transition towards computer software assurance, or CSA. So today we're going to talk through what does that actually mean in practice, how should companies rethink validation strategies as part of this transition, and where are teams getting stuck? So to help us unpack that, I'm joined today by Tara Doby, who works closely with life science organizations on validation strategy, compliance, and implementing modern approaches to regulated digital systems. Tara, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris.
So to start, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you into the world of CSV in the life science organization, and maybe a little bit about what you do here at Kymanox today?
Sure. CSV was not something I was out to find. CSV found me. My first day on the job at Kymanox, I was put on my first project. It was implementing an ERP system. I had never done this. The vaccine company that I was with prior was more mature. I was doing more system reevaluations, system maintenance, no real implementation of an ERP system for sure.
Thankfully.
Yes, thankfully. However, I was paired with a Kymanox veteran. He led my way, showed me the ropes, and we went on to do several CSV projects, not all ERP related, after that.
Again, thankfully.
Thankfully.
Those ERP implementations are a real chore, not just from the CSV, from the data logistics and everything else that goes into them.
Absolutely.
So yeah. And so what's your role today at Kymanox?
My role today is leading the tech services team, which does encompass CQV, CSV as a portion of that, as well as other technical solutions for the industry. Wherever they need us, we will plug in. We will provide our background, our support, our program management skills to help get to the common goal.
Yeah, perfect. So for folks who are listening who might not directly work in validation, they're not in CQV or they're adjacent to it somewhere else in manufacturing, or for all of our medical device, product development colleagues who listen in as well, how would you explain the role of CSV and why it's so critical in the regulated manufacturing environment?
Validation in general is proving something can perform consistently over time, as expected, to deliver safe, effective, reliable results. CSV is no different. It's just related to the software component of it, the data integrity component of it. CSV is providing assurance that the systems are performing as intended to improve patient safety, product quality, and data integrity over time.
Yeah. And, it's so interesting because as we've seen the industry mature over the last probably 20 years, maybe even a little bit less than that, more and more systems are becoming electronic.
Yes.
Right. And so we're, again, thankfully, not just in paper batch records, paper quality management system, but that also extends to our pumps collect data, right? And that's essentially the simplest piece, maybe a pH meter, right? But that collects data too.
It does.
And then, okay, can we rely on that data? And now you have this, you have to make a decision as an organization. Are we going to say that data is valid so that I can reference it in a deviation, or when an operator makes an entry error or doesn't date something correct, right? Not to give us PTSD from our manufacturing flashback, right? But are we going to validate that? Can we validate that? Did the OEM put in user access controls, or is everyone an admin and everyone's signing in with admin and password, in which way you can't trust it at all? So, but that means that CSV has gotten even more important. It's gotten more common, right?
Yes.
I mean, I remember when most of our equipment on the floor, especially in downstream, had very minimal computerized systems to it, right? Because it was very manual, very pressure driven. And now they're all of course, deeply electronic. So, Organizations have relied on traditional CSV for a long time, at least for longer than that 20-year span, but certainly over most of it. Where do you see companies struggle the most with the implementation, in kind of your standard CSV approaches?
Standard CSV, it's a requirement. It's not a request. So companies have to comply. The biggest heartburn that I see with CSV in the industry is the long implementation times, the high costs of implementation, the impact on improving the ultimate goal that we mentioned previously, patient safety, data integrity. We are doing so much unnecessary work to get to that goal. So we're spending time developing and maintaining documentation because it's been part of the process for so long. It's not necessarily value add any longer.
We're doing it because we've always done it that way.
Exactly. Unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Not what anyone ever wants to hear.
No.
So there's a lot of buzz out in the space about computer software assurance, right? CSA. At a high level, how would you explain the difference between traditional CSV and CSA?
So it's funny, when talking to a colleague of ours earlier this week, we both agreed they're essentially the same thing.
Uh-oh.
So we have been relying on ISP's GAMP5 risk-based approach for many years, far back to 2008. This GAMP5 risk-based approach has been implemented into companies' CSV programs. We are assessing the risk, but we're still piling on the documentation as well. The CSA approach also utilizes this GAMP theology. So they are essentially the same. However, we are doing something about reducing the scripting and the testing that's associated with the risks that we identify.
So essentially, we're checking the same box, but we're, novel idea, actually making risk-based testing assessments and in terms of what we're going to actually, suss all the way out.
Exactly. One of the main changes that we've noticed is the idea of unscripted testing. This is essentially using someone knowledgeable of your system to run through the process without the need for step-by-step scripts.
So you're not setting up a detailed step-by-step protocol. You're taking an SME that you've identified, said, hey, this person understands this UFDF system, right?
Exactly. But the irony of this is for the CSV approach, you would have, you wouldn't test those low critical items, low risk items anyways. But now we are able to use this approach in an unscripted manner and get to the end goal. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So really this just, it's so interesting having so many frequent conversations on both the device side of the industry and the drug manufacturing side of the industry. And despite what we may hear about the agency, they are all marching to at least the beat of a similar drum. They're they may not be exactly the same, but they certainly rhyme. And so they're really just trying to march the industry continuously towards this risk-based approach and genuine risk-based approach, right? Not a paper exercise.
Right, exactly. That's the piece.
Yeah, exactly. I think back to working in manufacturing, and you do these risk assessments and you look at, probability and severity and all these kinds of factors. And then you land at the conclusion that everyone thought at the beginning before you started the paper exercise.
You file it and you do the whole process anyways.
Yeah, exactly, right? So actually eliminating low-risk testing, right, that isn't value-added.
Right.
Because time is a non-renewable resource, right? Your answer for not doing something can never be, well, we don't have the headcount to do that, right? That doesn't work. And we cut our teeth.
True or not.
Right? Yeah, exactly. We cut our teeth enough making vaccines where you don't have limitless resources on a high-value mAb or something. But
right.
So it's actually just, again, it's genuinely trying to move us all towards this risk-based mindset. We see this getting implemented in cell and gene therapy in terms of, risk-based potency assay development. So it really is all over the place in the industry. So So when organizations start thinking about, okay, we're maybe going to turn this corner, right?
Yeah.
And actually try to implement this. So we're going to call it CSA, but we're going to actually try to do CSV in a risk-based manner, right? What are some of the biggest misconceptions or misunderstandings that we see folks dealing with?
I'll follow up with the unscripted testing.
Mm-hmm.
Unscripted does not mean undocumented. If it is not documented, it did not happen.
Didn't happen. Yep.
So the way we use it at Kymanox is we still have a test plan.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not step by step, but it is documented what was done to test that.
Okay.
So I think that is a big misconception, and folks can be misled thinking unscripted means we can go off the cuff. Oh, I did that. Did you document it?
Yeah.
And then the other one is that CSA is less work. Yes and no. I think it refocuses the attention to where it needs to be, on the area of highest risk.
Yeah.
Instead of taking our time to areas of low risk, low impact to patient.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah. We're not trying to just drive to busy work,
No.
right? And say, well, okay, I spent my 200 hours doing CSV to that piece of equipment, and so we're good.
Look at my binder of documentation to prove it.
Exactly. And you can wield that against an auditor, right? You can just throw a lot of stuff at them, and especially depending on the auditor, I mean, they might let themselves get sunk down in the weeds there, or they might start asking some really pinpointed questions and want to understand areas of real high risk. So,
yep.
Yeah. So I mean, again, to reiterate that, really it's not about doing less. It's about focusing effort where risk actually exists. Right.
Absolutely.
So I do want to ask folks who are listening along, if you're getting value from this, if you get value from our episodes, give this episode a like wherever you happen to be listening, on YouTube or on Spotify or your podcast player of choice, and then share it with someone in your network who this might be applicable to. Quality, validation, regulatory, certainly folks who are overseeing CDMOs or standing up manufacturing in-house, and really think about trying to how to implement risk-based decision making in a really genuine way. So. Tara, can you share an example, obviously without getting into specific names, right? But where traditional CSV created a lot of unnecessary burden or inefficiency?
I would say it's not one organization in particular. I've seen it across many organizations. CSV has become so complex prior to the CSA approach, where companies feel they need a dedicated department within their validation department.
Mm-hmm.
My validation department has a CSV department. When I walk in and do introductions or a client kickoff, this is a red flag to me that this organization does not have a large appetite for risk assessing or a risk-based approach to their validation style. I've seen breaking out a CSV department from the validation department lead to stepping on toes, redundancies of efforts, overburdening your QA. You have a shared QA typically.
Yep.
They're reviewing double the documentation.
Yeah.
So that's a big one I see industry-wide still, when it could be integrated into the system validation.
And do you think that so much of that is because we make CSV this boogeyman?
It's an unknown for a lot of folks.
It's the monster that's under the bed or in the closet, and folks, they just don't want to touch it, right? They want to stick to their standard CQV, and they want to work through that, and they don't want to get in on the CSV side.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because we have to be so adaptable about how we approach solution architecture to clients, because you have to understand where their organization is at and how far you're going to be able to get them, right?
Exactly.
You're only going to move them so many steps in a general direction. So, I mean, from a practical sense, when someone's going to implement this, or they really want to be more risk-based in how they actually do validation, how would you recommend what's a good first step for them to start implementing that I mean, obviously call someone like us, but if they're going to try to work on it on their own,
Yes.
what's a good step to try to actually implement these risk-based or CSA principles, and where have you seen that be successful in projects?
I think it starts with a conversation with the correct stakeholders. Your CSV team, please come prepared to the conversation with what has changed in the regulation, where you would like to see change in your organization. Get quality's input. Ultimately, they're going to be speaking up for it and supporting it as well. I think a bite-sized approach, maybe you're using a risk assessment tool in your CSV program already. Make that a bigger piece of your puzzle. Spend more time in that space before moving on to the check boxes.
Okay.
And then reassess in a defined time frame.
Yeah.
3 months from now, let's reassess. Do we like the way this is going? Are we more confident in our decisions? Have we made changes, or are we ready to take the next step to maybe approach unscripted testing, especially for your low-risk systems? I think that's where we have really brought the most value to our clients since this new phase of CSV, CSA testing. We've gotten feedback, oh, it was so efficient. It saved us time, saved us money by using the unscripted testing for those low-risk systems.
Yeah. Do you think that I'm curious, why do you think there's hesitancy to make that first step? I mean, is it purely the status quo? This is how we've always done it, and we don't want to rock the boat. I mean, because and then I'll weigh in with my opinions. But why are organizations so resistant to this?
I do. Sometimes the focus on change is in other areas. So CSV is getting completed for the company, where they're trying to make big strides in their research or their development of the next generation of products. So this is working. It could be improved. I think that's the biggest hesitancy. And I think there's also a shift that needs to come from the support to the validation effort. Knowledgeable users of the system, not blindly validating a process you're not familiar with. So collaboration.
You mean you think system owners should be involved in validation?
I do. It's a strange concept. I know.
You know, it's so interesting because I feel like there's also a degree that organizations are hesitant to have to present a plan of how they're evolving to the agency. Right?
Absolutely.
They want to present that we have everything buttoned up together and we're a nice, pretty, perfect package, right? And to be frank, when you present that to an auditor, they know you're full of crap. Like, we are human to err is to human. Like, they know that there's garbage going on there, and I'm not anything heinous, right? But they know it's not perfect. So present this journey that you're on to better compliance, again, in alignment with this just kind of broad spectrum of how the agency is thinking.
Process improvement.
Yeah, exactly.
Small steps.
You're almost certainly, I mean, I'm thinking from a lens of a commercial scale manufacturing. You've got some OE efforts going on to ultimately try to improve EBITDA out the door, right? Because your parent company's always turning the screws to try to get you to do that, right? And here's an opportunity to do some of that and to, make Val QA not hate you quite as much when they're always behind the 8 ball to review this binder of documentation. So I have a lot of sympathy for my QA colleagues who are always at the end of the Gantt chart, and the deadline doesn't move and their timeline just gets shortened.
Yep.
So
every single time.
Yeah. So looking ahead a little bit, where do you see validation evolving over the next handful of years, right? 5, 10, 15. I mean, we've changed quite a bit over a similar time frame, but we see more digital tools being adopted. We see more cloud platforms, both in terms of cloud-based systems that have validation advantage through software as a service and plenty of well-known QMSs and LIMS systems and things like that. Obviously, the use in automation of some of these from a documentation perspective, electronic systems, Neat probably being the most well-known, but there's some others as well. And then kind of how that all rolls into more and more processing moving to even higher levels of automation, right? New manufacturing facilities that are being built have a quarter as many associate level positions, and they're doing different work than what I did when I was, a glorified manufacturing associate, right?
Yeah.
So how do you see validation, and especially in the equipment and the computer system perspective, evolving as we kind of move through that? And there's a lot of changes going on there, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take it back to duplication of efforts. I think 20 years ago, large companies were developing these processes, these sequences in-house for their company. Now there are companies who do this. There are companies who specialize in this.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a shift where we are leaning more on the vendor to be the SME of that aspect of the process.
Yeah.
FATs, utilize them. Vendor testing, don't repeat it. Trust but verify. We will verify that it was done accurately, that there are no gaps in our requirements. But trust them. I think this also has a background component for vendor onboarding. Set the standard high. If you're going to lean on them to be the experts in their space, ensure that the right folks are bringing the solution to the table.
Yeah. You should probably have a really long, hard look at how you're doing supplier management. If you're onboarding single-use technology, right, that goes directly into manufacturing versus a pump system, right, and certainly one that has components that get to touch your product, right? And then the other one that always griped me was if your manufacturing organization has to buy material through one system and your maintenance organization gets to buy elastomer, let's say gaskets or valve diaphragms through a different system, the agency's not gonna like that.
No.
So then we both had that experience.
Trust your vendor, trust your supplier.
But have robust supplier management and appropriate quality oversight throughout. So yeah. So as we get close to closing, is there one key takeaway or mindset shift that you would want the quality, validation, and IT leaders to leave the conversation with?
I think lean on the GAMP5 risk-based approach. Set your procedures up and follow them as prescribed. I think you will be in good standings with those two items alone. I also think as part of the CSA approach is developing and becoming more common, if every item you assess is high risk, you are not assessing your risk appropriately. Don't be so conservative and set in the CSV mentality that you miss the chance to improve. It's
just like prioritization. Everything can't be high priority.
It cannot.
Right? Everything can't be high risk.
And it's not.
It's genuinely not.
Right.
Like there are things that have more, product quality, efficacy, purity, impact.
Don't take it personally. It's just the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's where the agency, is not only requesting, but requiring that we get to. So. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to the Life Science Solutions podcast. If you found this discussion helpful, be sure to subscribe, share it with colleagues who are working in the industry across all of life sciences. And of course, if your organization is navigating CSV modernization, CSA adoption, risk-based decision-making, or even just broader digital transformation, the team at Kymanox is happy to engage and support and see what makes sense. So until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to Life Science Solutions, presented by Kymanox and produced by WalkWest. For more insights like this, subscribe and follow Life Science Solutions wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you next time as we continue exploring what it takes to bring life science innovation to life, because patients deserve better.